coming up and within a matter of weeks, we are going to have to be noticing a important election, the most important Senate election, debatably, which is frankly the election between Mark Kelly and Martha McSally. While yes, the RCP fake polls have Kelly up by 7%, you can see that he's barely at 50, even with the fake news polls. Okay. Again, this is very important to keep track of, and as you can see in this aggregate, we are not accepting Trafalgar, which is a problem, okay? So, again, take the Trafalgar pill. Now, what does Trafalgar have to say about this election? As you can see right here, Trafalgar has Trump winning the state by 4%, and important people such as Radical Politics, among other people that have half a brain cell, who think Trump is probably going to win Arizona, know that if Trump wins Arizona by over 2%, McSally has a good chance of winning the election, okay? As you can see here, Trump did actually win Arizona with 48% of the vote. Right now he's about at 48%. So as you can see, this is not a crazy Trafalgar right-leaning pollster. Again, Trafalgar is the most accurate pollster there is, more or less, among Zogby and the Democracy Institute. And again, you are looking at a popular vote of a couple million people, so this is a very variant election. And so right now we look at the 2018 election as the closest election, which has a lot of details. And as you can see, in a blue midterm, Kyrsten Sinema won by 55,000 votes. Okay, Martha McSally lost by less than 2.5%. What does this really mean? Well, it basically means that McSally is probably going to win, and I'll tell you why. If it hadn't been a midterm, she would have won, okay? And let's keep in mind, she had to fight a primary that had Joe Arpaio, Kelly Ward, among other people, okay? This primary, she had next to no competition, so this makes it a lot easier for her, I suppose, in this election in 2020. Again, Sinema had a pretty easy time in her primary, but as you can see right here, the polling was not very nice to her, having McSally losing. And when you look at the campaign finance, you can see that Sinema outspent her just a little bit, but that's not what matters necessarily, okay? Trafalgar had, in right before the election, McSally at 47, Kyrsten Sinema at 50, and that's exactly what happened, okay? So, again, Trafalgar is right. And what does Trafalgar have? It has it as a tilt toss-up, okay? Now, it would probably take someone from Arizona to really understand how the prospects of McSally are looking. And if we were to look at the exit polling, you could see that McSally is more or less losing a lot of the Trump coalition from 2016. And to that I say, well, if she's going to be on the coattails of Donald, then she'll more or less get 95% of that vote. So that basically means that if Trump wins by over 2%, she is probably going to win. Again, we have people, she's getting the white vote out. The black vote doesn't matter in Arizona. She got 30% of the Latino vote. As you can see in 2016, though, Donald Trump got approximately 31% of the Latino vote. So again, if Trump is going to do better with Latinos, let's say 35% in Arizona, then McSally is probably going to get 34%, which probably means that she'll win the election, right? So that Hispanic turnout will basically add another percent to the popular vote of McSally, which will close the gap considerably. And then the white vote for Donald Trump, we have to keep in mind, was 54% in 2016. He'll probably get about the same, maybe 53.5%, which means that McSally will do slightly better with whites. So that'll, again, close the gap even further. When we look into a more detailed ballot, okay, we look at Asians, they don't matter, mulattoes and others don't matter in this race. Again, we need to look at the specifics of the race, and as you can see, Donald Trump won a lot of key demographics that McSally either lost or very narrowly held on to but lost ground in, where she's going to gain the ground back, okay? If we're talking about a D+5, D+8 popular vote electorate in 2018, this year, for the president, we're going to see a D+2, D+3, D+4. So this is going to be advantageous to McSally over the last time, okay? Again, Most people who supported the border wall voted for Trump, as did for McSally. Since the wall's being built, that'll just further enthuse McSally voters. Okay, so that's another thing that we have to keep in mind. In 2018, again, we need to see and notice that it was a midterm. Okay, you can just basically write that away. All right. Also, the polling. Oh, well, Trafalgar got it wrong. No, they didn't. They got it wrong because all the undecideds broke off. The undecideds weren't accounted for in the Trafalgar poll, obviously. And if you were to look over here, Kyrsten Sinema won Maricopa. That was the main problem we had in this election, okay? McSally did go up slightly in Pima County, but we do see a drop in Navajo over 2016, perhaps. We see the surrounding of the metropolitan areas dropping in support for McSally over Donald Trump, which is a problem. But since she's going to be on the general election ballot, that's going to be offset, and the Maricopa thing will narrow a little bit too, which will lead to a very, very razor-thin victory for McSally, in my opinion. In my opinion, this is the best opinion, obviously. Again, we look at different demographics here, and veterans, okay, veterans, well, the VA reform will help the Republicans in this respect. Again, we are looking at, okay, so again, this is not the biggest deal, as you can see, in 2018. Let's keep in mind, as Razorfist said himself, the McSally seat was stolen. Why was it stolen? If you were to look at this specific area in Maricopa where you had a bunch of minorities, they had a lot of polling places open up all of a sudden, a lot of expenditure in precincts in Democrat-heavy areas instead of rural Republican areas, and you had mail-in voting fraud and harvest voting, mail-in vote harvesting, which was a bad thing, which will be gotten rid of in 2020. So that's going to be an advantage to McSally. So it'll take away the rigging. And I remember in 2018, McSally had the race called for her, and then it was stolen by Sinema because of the minority and the ballot harvesting, all this other crap, Democrat crap. So frankly, she would have been probably the winner by a very slight margin, less than 1%, had it not been rigged. And most definitely, without the midterm effect, she would have won by probably 2-ish%. But again, people are so negative against McSally, okay? She won most of the vote in the primary against two strong opponents, which basically means that she will get a strong Republican turnout. And that's honestly good. When we look at the 2018 election in particular, we look here, and again, the polls, don't trust the polls. The polls are fake. Do not trust the damn polls. The polls are fake news, alright? Fake news. All right, okay. In terms of 2016, Trump won with less than any other Republican in the last 15 years in terms of what vote he got. And he still won. That just goes to show the Trump coalition will be strong as ever. The Republican turnout will be strong as ever. Minorities will not turn out in the numbers they will. And some of them will be more Republican than ever. Meaning that McSally just has to win the race. Trafalgar, which has its own problems in terms of oversampling women, oversampling certain people that won't vote Republican, will probably show that Trump is doing probably another % or two better than what they have him at even now, which basically goes to show that if Trump wins Arizona by over 3%, McSally's going to win. And I honestly think that he's going to win by a good margin, a handily margin. Arizona's a titanium tilt red state. What does that mean? It basically means that McSally has an over 50% chance of winning, right? So again, don't be negative, guys. Don't doom. Again, McSally's not that bad of a candidate. She votes 94% with Trump. She's against amnesty, all this other stuff. Recently, I think she is a good enough candidate to win by the skin of her teeth. The fake news polls are just that, fake news. RCP is trash in a lot of respects. They've gotten virtually every race wrong. When we look at the spending, yes, the spending gap has increased, but what does that even mean? As an example, McSally raised $30 million in a race. Mark Kelly raised $45 million in his race. Well, what does that even go to show? It goes to show that, look, I'm in Arizona too. I get ads. I get mostly ads from McSally and the NRA against Mark Kelly. Arizona is the most pro-gun state in the union in terms of its laws, okay? Meaning that hitting a Democrat who's going as a moderate in the platform that he's going for, he is, frankly, going to be hit on the NRA issue, the gun control, gun confiscation, okay? That's going to carry over. And those gun voters that voted for Sinema are definitely going to vote for McSally this time. So, again, not a big win for Kelly there. And the ads, I'm seeing more ads on the right wing than the left wing. I probably see for every 7 McSally ads, 5 Kelly ads. So that just goes to show that money that the Democrats are spending in Arizona is being wasted. It's not dollar for dollar. And again, Trump won, being outspent 2-1 against Hillary. So if a Democrat has a 30% spending advantage or 50% advantage in spending, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to win. Now, if Kelly had $100 million, yeah, okay, no. Coffin is closed. But in general, the gap in spending is not enough to necessitate a win for Kelly. And if we move on to the Senate map, it's very important that we do win Arizona. But let's say we do lose New Hampshire, and let's say we do lose Colorado, New Mexico. Let's say we obviously win Texas, both of Georgia's seats, South Carolina, Iowa, and Montana. We are already at 50, okay? We win Arizona, and it's guaranteed we win. Even if we lose every other state that is viable for Republicans, we are still going to keep the majority, even if Joe Biden wins. It's very crucial that we do win Arizona. Now, we can still win with Arizona gone, but we would have to win Collins' seat again, or maybe Cunningham has to lose, or James has to win, or Jason Lewis has to win. And look, if we do win McSally's seat, we are going to win the Senate back. Virtually guaranteed. This is one of the most narrow races. And when it comes down to it, Justice Amy Coney Barrett's nomination, basically, and voting for will help McSally. McSally will do better because of the Hispanics going for Trump. That'll carry her down ballot. The stronger Republican coalition, of which only 88% of Republicans ended up voting for Trump or McSally in 2016 or 18, that's going to be more like 92%, 95% of Arizona Republicans will vote for McSally, for Donald Trump. So again, heightened Republican turnout. Hispanics don't turn out, by the way. But since they are turning more Republican, that'll offset any demographic change over the last 2 to 4 years, which is marginal at best. And let's also keep in mind that when you add everything up, she is probably going to win. I believe Trafalgar. You have to take the Trafalgar pill, guys. And if Trump's going to win Arizona by any more than 1, she's still in the game, okay? She's going to win almost all the Trump votes, minus some, okay? I concede that. So, if I think Trump's going to win Arizona by, let's say, 3%, then I think McSally will win by the skin of her teeth, okay? Don't trust the polls, don't doom. I unfortunately disagree with Red Eagle on this. He thinks Arizona will be tilt blue. I just don't see it coming. I see it as a tilt red. And I'm going to die on this hill probably because, honestly, this is what I believe in, okay? We are going to probably win Arizona. I'm sorry, guys. We're just going to have to win it. We have to keep Arizona great. It's massive country. It's Trump country. And sure, we're going to lose a little bit of the suburban vote, but we're going to do better with Hispanics, which will offset it. We're going to increase Republican turnout, which will offset immigration. And we're just going to win this one, alright? We have to win this one. Come on, guys. Don't doom. Don't doom. No black bills, alright, guys? And finally, subscribe if you think that McSally will win. Alright, thank you. Bye.